It was a bright morning in downtown Seattle, where the glass towers glimmered like diamonds in the sun. The city was awake, cars honking, coffee carts steaming, and people rushing to make another day count. Among them was Evelyn Drake, a 38-year-old CEO of Drake Innovations, one of the fastest-growing tech firms in the country. To the world, she was the definition of success, elegant, composed, powerful. But beneath the polished image, she carried a heart that still trembled from the shadows of a memory she could never forget. A dusty battlefield far from home, a young soldier gasping for breath, and her trembling hands covered in blood as she tried to save him. That was 15 years ago, during her volunteer work as a war zone medic in Syria. She was there for only 6 months, but one night changed her forever. A convoy was ambushed. She found a soldier barely alive, shrapnel piercing his chest. His name was Ethan Cole. She stayed with him through the night, talking to him, praying he would survive. When rescue finally arrived, she handed him over and never saw him again. She often wondered if he made it. Sometimes, when she couldn't sleep, she'd close her eyes and still hear his faint whisper, "If I live, I'll find a way to thank you." Now, as she stood in the corner office of her skyscraper, the memory flickered again, then vanished as the shrill ring of her phone brought her back. "Ms. Drake, there's been another incident," her assistant said, voice trembling. "It's about your daughter." Her heart clenched. Sophia, her 11-year-old, had been through too much already. Ever since Evelyn's husband passed away in a plane crash 3 years ago, the little girl had become the only light in her life. But lately, threats had started coming in. Anonymous letters, strange cars parked outside their home, and a break-in attempt just last night. The police suspected it was corporate sabotage or blackmail from a rival firm. Evelyn didn't care about the why, only that her daughter was in danger. By noon, she had arranged an emergency meeting with a private security agency. "I want the best," she told them, voice trembling but firm. "Money doesn't matter. My daughter's safety does." That same evening, a man arrived at her gated mansion in a black SUV. He stepped out tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a gray tactical jacket. His eyes, piercing blue, seemed to scan every corner instinctively, as if assessing threats invisible to anyone else. "Mom, I'm Ethan Cole," he said. "I was assigned to protect your daughter." Evelyn froze. Something about that name made her heartbeat quicken. Ethan Cole. It echoed in her chest like a forgotten song. But when she looked at him closely, she couldn't place him. The years had changed him. The boyish soldier she once saw bleeding in her arms had become a man carved from resilience. His face was rugged, faintly scarred, his expression calm but haunted. Before continuing this emotional journey, if you believe in kindness, destiny, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Every story here reminds us that compassion can return in the most unexpected ways. Ethan's first meeting with Sophia went surprisingly well. The girl, shy at first, warmed up quickly. She'd lost her father too early, and Ethan had a gentle way of making her feel safe, teaching her small self-defense moves, showing her how to stay alert, and even helping her with homework. He wasn't just guarding her, he was protecting her childhood. Evelyn would often watch from afar, her chest tightening as she saw her daughter laugh again after so many months of fear. Yet, something about Ethan continued to stir her memories. His voice, the way he said "Mom" with quiet respect, his habit of rubbing the scar on his wrist when he thought. They all tugged at something deep inside her. One afternoon, while preparing coffee in the kitchen, Evelyn noticed him standing silently by the window watching the driveway. His jaw was tense. "Is something wrong?" she asked. "Just staying alert," he replied softly. "Some threats don't show themselves until it's too late." His tone carried a heaviness she recognized, the voice of someone who'd seen loss. As days turned into weeks, the house began to feel alive again. Sophia started painting. Ethan would sit beside her, keeping watch while helping her mix colors. Evelyn, meanwhile, found herself drawn into conversations with him, sometimes about small things, favorite movies, books, or how he preferred strong black coffee. But once, late one evening, when a thunderstorm rumbled outside, she caught him gazing at the rain, eyes distant. "Do you ever regret anything?" she asked quietly. He took a long pause. "Every soldier does," he said. "Sometimes it's what we did. Sometimes it's what we couldn't do." The pain in his words pierced through her. She wanted to ask more, but before she could, the lights flickered, and suddenly the security alarm blared. Ethan reacted instantly, drawing his weapon and rushing toward the hallway. Evelyn's breath caught as she grabbed Sophia and crouched behind the counter. Within seconds, Ethan was back, breath steady. "It's clear," he said. A sensor was tripped outside. Probably a false alarm, but the tension in his shoulders said otherwise. That night, Evelyn couldn't sleep. Something told her this wasn't over. The next morning, Ethan requested to install additional cameras and double the guards at night. "They're testing your defenses," he warned. "Whoever's behind this isn't done." His professionalism impressed her, but his care, the quiet, personal concern, touched something she hadn't felt in years. Days passed. Then, one bright afternoon, Sophia's school van was attacked on its route. Smoke, chaos, shattered glass, and amid it all, Ethan's SUV came screeching to the rescue. He stormed through the smoke, bullets flying, scooped Sophia into his arms, and shielded her with his body as he drove her to safety. Hours later, Evelyn stood at the hospital shaking. Sophia was safe, thanks to Ethan. But he had been shot in the shoulder. When she rushed into the room, he lay pale but conscious. As she tried to thank him, her eyes fell on something, a scar across his chest, a deep diagonal mark. Her breath caught. It was the same scar she had seen 15 years ago. She dropped to her knees beside him, tears streaming. "It's you," she whispered. "Syria the soldier. You were the one I—" He smiled faintly. "I told you I'd find a way to thank you," he said, his voice hoarse but steady. "Took me a while." In that moment everything blurred. The years, the pain, the distance, all vanished. The soldier she once saved had returned, not as a memory, but as the man who saved her daughter's life. Ethan recovered slowly, and Evelyn insisted he stay in their guest house during recovery. As days passed, she found herself sitting by his bedside, sharing stories of the past, how she had almost given up after her husband's death, how she had built her company again from nothing. Ethan, in turn, told her about the years after the war, how he struggled with PTSD, how he wandered through jobs until he found purpose protecting others. They began to heal together, but the danger wasn't over. One evening, as Sophia played outside, Ethan noticed a black sedan circling the street again. He rushed out, memorizing the plate. Later that night, police caught the driver, a hired mercenary connected to a rival corporation trying to force Evelyn to sell her company. The truth came crashing down. She had been targeted for months. When the news broke, the public hailed Ethan as a hero, but Evelyn didn't see him as a bodyguard anymore. She saw the boy whose life she once saved, now saving hers in return. Weeks later, as the sun dipped behind the city skyline, Evelyn stood on her balcony, her daughter asleep upstairs, and Ethan quietly packing his gear in the foyer. "You don't have to leave," she said softly. "You've become part of this family." He looked at her, eyes filled with gratitude and something deeper. "You gave me my life twice, Evelyn," he said. "First when you saved me, and again when you trusted me. I'll never forget that." She stepped closer, tears in her eyes. "Then don't forget this either," she whispered, placing her hand over his. "You don't have to walk away this time." The city lights glowed behind them as silence filled the space, not empty, but full of everything unspoken. Sometimes, life brings people back not by chance, but by purpose, to complete the circle of kindness that once began in the darkest hour. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Every view helps us spread more stories of compassion, redemption, and second chances that prove the world still has good people in it. And before this story ends, tell us in the comments, do you believe that kindness always finds its way back? Evelyn looked out at the rising dawn, her heart finally at peace. The soldier she once saved had become the guardian of her world. And somewhere deep inside she knew, sometimes, the hands you once used to save a stranger are the same hands that will one day protect your home.